Okay, that's how it'll be. Something like that. Hey everybody, this is Chad Jordan, Director of Marketing for the Digital Services at Sport Clips. Glad to have you with us today on what I'm really looking forward to is an exciting episode of the Sport Clips Hall of Fame podcast. And I think this episode is going to do a lot of good for a lot of people. So I'm really thrilled to be here. And I was getting ready to say with my guest, but I'm going to let her introduce herself. So who am I here with, by the way?
Well, hello, Chad. Thank you for having me. My name is Kathleen Ruddy. I'm the CEO of the St. Baldrick Foundation, and I'm so thrilled to be here with you and with all of our friends at Sport Clips.
Well, we love being a national partner, the first national partner with St. Baldrick's Foundation. And this is a partnership that began back in 2016. And what we're going to explore today for our listeners is we're going to talk about what that partnership has meant over the last 3 years, what exactly St. Baldrick's is, how in the world did it get named St. Baldrick's? Is there really a saint up there named Baldrick? And then we're going to talk about what the future looks like with this partnership. So we got a lot packed into the next half hour or so, but looking forward to it. So without further ado, can you help me understand? Was it 2016? Because it's 2019, right?
Mm-hmm.
Minus 3 years. Mm-hmm. So 2016, Gordon Logan, the CEO and founder of Sport Clips, Martha England, our VP of Marketing. You guys, St. Baldrick's, all get in a room and decide we need to do something to fund childhood cancer research and to make a difference. So what happened in 2016 that was so monumental?
Well, I think for anybody who's ever met or been exposed to Gordon Logan in any way, shape, or form, which I think is pretty much the entire Sport Clips family, you know that he's a man who really cares about people.
Yeah.
The people in his organization, the people in his communities, the clients that you serve, your customers, and the well-being of the next generation. And I think that carries out in a lot of Sport Clips philanthropic endeavors. Mm-hmm. And we were really impressed by that. But I think the leadership team at Sport Clips really learned what the situation in the world of childhood cancer is and the opportunity that existed to really do something profound that not only would save kids' lives, but improve the quality of their lives during treatment and then for the rest of their lives. Mm-hmm. So we were thrilled and so excited that Sport Clips, a company that has a public presence on the street, that people know, that that the man and woman on the street know and they talk about in their homes. Mm-hmm. Was willing to embrace this because it's kind of the shot in the arm that St. Baldrick's needed to help become better known so that we could better tell the story of children fighting cancer. In the U.S. and Canada and, well, really all high-income countries, cancer is the #1 disease killer of our children. Mm. And yet, when we look back over the last 30, 40 years, when significant progress has been made, we have been able to increase survival of those kids tenfold. In 40 years ago, 50 years ago, gosh, I mean, it was very rare for a child to survive at all. And now, kids with the most common form of childhood cancer, acute lymphoblastic leukemia, 90% of them can be cured. Mm-hmm. And so that proves that research has made that possible.
Right.
But there are almost over 100 types of cancers that specifically attack children. And we need to be able to bring that kind of progress to all of them, in addition to saving the other 10% who currently will not survive their battle with leukemia. Mm-hmm. So we've had tremendous progress, and we're seeing progress in some of the other diseases, but we need to accelerate that. And for us, Sport Clips came in at a time that we really needed to amplify that message, reach new people, find a new way to communicate what we do and the opportunity to play a role in curing cancer. When I was growing up, Chad, I don't know if your parents told you this, but when I was growing up, I was really interested in medicine and helping people, and this was before I learned that I really stink at science myself.
Yeah.
But my parents
Preaching to the choir.
my parents are so excited, would say, well, maybe she'll find the cure for cancer one day. Well, I'm not that scientist in a lab finding a cure, but I am playing a part of that. I'm helping to equip those scientists with the tools they need. And every single person who's part of the St. Baldrick's movement, and now everybody who's part of Sport Clips, is part of curing cancer. And I don't know a more purposeful way to expend my energy and to invest philanthropic dollars and so forth, because it's not only working to eliminate a disease that's a scourge of our time, but protecting generations of kids and keeping families intact. That's pretty pure. I think that brings people from all different perspectives and walks of life together. And in this day and age, I think we all need things that we can agree on and that can unite us. We focus so much on what divides us. We need to focus more on what unites us.
Yeah.
And I think that ripples through a lot of the culture and the drive that I've seen in my interactions with everybody at Sport Clips. And for us at St. Baldrick's, that's what we're trying to deliver.
There are going to be two reactions. Now I'm talking to the Sport Clips team members that are listening to this podcast. There are going to be two reactions if they involve themselves in a Brave the Shave event, which we'll talk about. One, they will laugh their heads off. They're going to have a good time as they're shaving and heads, and as people are interacting with them. And two, they're gonna cry their eyes out eventually at some point, because someone's going to tell a story on how this is impacting them, and there's going to be a great connection. And stylists, hairdressers, they are some of the most emotionally connecting people. I mean, you think about, they sit down and they cut hair and they talk and they talk and they talk for 30 minutes a pop to somebody, finding out their life story, and they see them every month. And so there is something within a stylist's DNA that make them want to give back and make them want to connect with people. And so that's why I love the St. Baldrick's Foundation partnership that Sport Clips has, because it's right up our alley. It's right up what every store at a local level is looking to do, and that's connect with the local community, and yet make a global impact, make an eternal impact, as you were talking about, the chance for people to not necessarily be scientists and doctors, but to contribute and be heroes. So now, that was 2016, and was that the year we did the Brave the Shave event at Huddle?
Yes.
And you were there,
I
right?
was.
And so it was hundreds of people getting their heads shaved in, was it San Antonio? Was that
Yes,
Texas
it was
here?
San Antonio.
Gordon, I think, even shaved his mustache and beard.
And Edward shaved as well.
Edward braved the shave.
Yes. That was a really powerful experience, because there was so much energy and there was so much pride.
Yeah.
Pride from on that stage. And just, you could feel that people just felt like this was good for their soul.
Mm-hmm.
And
therapeutic.
Yeah, very much so. And it's kind of like that monthly visit to your stylist, where you get to talk about what's going on in your life, and it's kind of a form of therapy. And I think people are yearning for ways to make the world a better place, and this is you can easily connect the dots. And I've heard from people, so I should probably explain for your audience's benefit in the event someone isn't familiar with St. Baldrick's, what we do. We got our start because three gentlemen who had all been really successful in the business world in New York were kind of challenging each other to give back and find a way to do that in a big way. And one of them had kind of a real crazy mane of hair that they liked to give him some grief over. And so one of them came with the idea to shave it. And since kids lose their hair during chemo treatments, typically, that they would get their friends in the industry to sponsor him and donate the money for pediatric cancer research. So he was not one to ever miss an opportunity, and he said, well, I will if you will. And so they decided to hijack their industry's St. Patrick's Day party.
Okay.
So St. Patrick's Day became St. Baldrick's Day because they were shaving their heads bald. And that first year, they wanted 17 guys to shave their heads. They never even thought that women might do it or kids, but 17 guys to do it and raise $1,000 each, so they could raise $17,000 on the 17th of March. And at the end of the day, they'd raised $104,000.
Oh my gosh.
And they were scratching their heads saying, we need to
They're
keep
bald
doing
heads
this.
at this
Right.
point, yeah.
And so that, it's St. Baldrick is not a real saint, but I like to say he's kind of now been invented. He exists in all of us, and he's the patron saint of kids with cancer.
Yeah.
So, I'm so thrilled to tell you that all these years later, the St. Baldrick's Foundation has now been able to, because of that signature head shaving event, fund over $262 million in childhood cancer research grants. We are the largest non-government funder of childhood cancer research grants in the world.
Wow.
And that is because of volunteers like everybody at Sport Clips, and who have shaved heads for us, who have shaved their own head, who've organized events, and it's fantastic because the event preceded the foundation, but now we have this entity and we can really drive a lot of change through our research program and our advocacy program.
We didn't talk about this off air, but aren't stores now able to, they can do the Brave the Shave event and partner with a local event, but aren't they able to maybe like do bake sales or something and can even contribute on the kiosk and on the cash register and have a little prompt for clients? Is that where we're at now?
Yes, in fact, numerous stores are coming up with their own ideas. Cash give back days, collecting, selling our little icons and letting customers put their names on it, and then for a donation and contributing that money forward. So there's numerous ways. We've had Sport Clips locations that have hosted 36 events for St. Baldrick's that welcome the community in to shave their heads. There have been over 100 stylists from Sport Clips that have participated in other St. Baldrick's events, and 617 members of the Sport Clips family have shaved their heads for St. Baldrick's. And all told, those efforts, plus the in-store promotions and giveaways and things, have netted more than $1.1 million for research, which is phenomenal. And
it's like every little dollar adding up.
Oh, absolutely. And so there's so often that you get approached for money, and sometimes you question, what's that going to achieve? Well, when you look at the fact that we have little kids who are bringing their piggy banks in, and corporations that can write a big check, or people doing sales in their business, or what have you, you put it all together, and it's the power of us being united that has allowed all that life-saving research to happen. And what's incredible is that you asked me a question, what have the last 3 years been like since Sport Clips came aboard? And not only has it kind of proven to be a leader and kind of an example for other companies to take a look at us to say, hey, if Sport Clips is doing this, maybe we should look at St. Baldrick's too, and childhood cancer as a cause. It's kind of helped elevate it in the public awareness.
If it's good enough for Gordon, it's good enough for us.
There you go, exactly. But in addition, in that time, it's been the most exciting time in research. I've been doing this a lot of years now. It's 18 years now.
You've been doing this since you were 10 years old? That's
I
amazing.
wish. You're very diplomatic, Chad. If only that were true. But 18 years, and there were things that were kind of considered true when I started in this work that were given. For example, I asked about quality of life for survivors of childhood cancer, and that was one of my early questions, like first couple of days on the job, and the answer was, well, that's kind of a luxury. That's considered like a future thing. There's one guy in the country who's really doing a lot on that, and he's got a few people kind of catching on and following and trying to catch up with him, but that's still kind of a luxury. We just need kids to survive. Well, we still need kids to survive, obviously, but focusing on the quality of that life once someone is considered quote-unquote cured, a lot of people don't realize that when a child survives cancer, more than 2/3 of those kids are going to have a life-threatening late effect. It's a polite way of saying some devastating scar, something they have to live with for the rest of their life. They're going to be infertile. They could have brain damage, heart disease, second and third cancers, infertility, stunted growth, loss of organs and vision and hearing, and all sorts of things that affect every day of your life going forward.
Right.
When an adult, God forbid, gets diagnosed with cancer, their bodies and minds are already fully developed, so they don't have to worry about late effects to the same degree.
Wow.
But when you're young and your body and mind is still developing, it impairs you forever.
Yeah.
And so when we talk about survivorship, we're talking about fixing all of those problems I just mentioned. And I'm thrilled to tell you is that in those 18 years, not only is survivorship there are survivorship clinics all over the country. There are specialists now all over the country who just work in that. Almost every grant that is that we fund that has a component that's involving kids. It's not something that's just in the lab. This is actually a study that's now being implemented in kids. There's a survivorship component. So it is very much part of the DNA of all research now, whereas 18 years ago it was considered a someday luxury.
As long as you keep them alive, that's good enough.
Right. And so now, fast forward to the last 3 years, what's incredible is the advent of immunotherapy and genetics and the ability to put those things together, and other accomplishments that have made because of funding that St. Baldrick's has been investing in has been incredible. And kids who were literally out of options and whose families were told, we're going to make them comfortable, but basically there's nothing more we can do for them. Your child isn't going to make it. Now there are kids who are actually alive and have no evidence of disease because of work that's only happened because of the contributing help of St. Baldrick's. And so that's something that every single member of the St. Baldrick's and Sport Clips families can celebrate and take part in. So it's been an incredibly exciting time in research, and we just need to amplify the message to get more people to understand that they can play a role, and it's a powerful one.
What are the roles? Can walk me through a couple different areas where help is really needed, and where common folk like me could step up and give some time and effort.
So I always call it time, talent, and treasure.
Okay.
So treasure is obviously give whatever you can. Again, no gift is too small or too large. We can put it all to work, and it makes a difference.
And that's
people,
I probably should put a link on this podcast to St. Baldrick's, so they can donate online.
Absolutely.
I mean, are we talking recurring gifts, one-time gifts?
They can give recurring gifts.
Okay.
We expect to be rolling out recurring gifts online in the next year or so.
Okay.
But they can call our office and set up a recurring gift if they'd like to. And time. Time is often the hardest and most precious thing for people to part with, but there are a lot of ways that they can help in their time. They can promote us on social media. They can help sign up for a St. Baldrick's event near them. This I'm referring to our signature head shaving events, where they could attend and volunteer at the event. They could help organize an event or run one if there isn't one near them, and they could shave.
Is there I don't want to interrupt, but is there a map or anything that shows where local events are, and how can we find out if there's one near us? Or
Yes, so if you go to the website, which is stbaldricks.org, and that's stbaldricks.org, if they click Get Involved, then you can go down and pick out what role interests you, or you can read about the various roles.
Okay.
And then you can search for events near you. There's a search function on the website. You can put in your zip code or whatever.
Verified ones that have been set up with your team here.
Right.
And
Right, and they're all official St. Baldrick's events. They're on the website. Say, for example, that you wanted to shave your head. You could then sign up right there on the website. You create a page where you say, I'm going to shave my head, and here's why. And
is it a template that I'm just following?
Yes, and it's all there for you. You don't have to, programming.
Good. Yeah, okay.
It's all very easy and turnkey. You can upload a before photo. Later, you can put your after photo there. You can personalize a statement as to why you're inspired and motivated to do it. You can then email a link to that page to all your friends and family and ask them to sponsor you. And they can do it either right there through the website using a credit card. They can mail in a check. They can give you cash for you to then turn in. all those instructions are provided. So we make it as easy as possible for you to be able to get your questions answered. We have FAQs, we have all sorts of information about the impact St. Baldrick's has made in saving kids' lives. That's on the website. You can share those facts with your friends. You can start a team and get friends to join you in this activity as well. There are other things too. We created a program a few years ago called Do What You Want, because head shaving was not for everybody. Some people are rather attached to their hair, and we get
Amen.
that.
Yes.
And so we created a program called Do What You Want, so that people who had different ideas could implement those. So whether it's the spaghetti dinner or the pancake breakfast or a jogathon or whatever, they can work with us and use all the tools that we have on our website to make fundraising easy and to promote the event and so forth, or the activity that they're doing. So those things now generate several $1 million a year for the St. Baldrick's Foundation and for research. So we don't like to say no to people who are willing. There's another way that we don't talk about as much as we should that I want to share with your audience, because we have an advocacy program. We are very much a leader of childhood cancer advocacy at the federal level in Washington, D.C. And we've helped pass several bills, including one that the St. Baldrick's Foundation authored called the Childhood Cancer STAR Act, which stands for Survivorship, Treatment, Access, and Research. And that was not only passed last year, but signed into law. And as a result of it, $30 million more in childhood cancer research funding was made available to do all sorts of things, to enable better collaboration, to data sharing, and more survivorship work, and so forth. So it's a huge step forward for kids with cancer, but we've really made that happen. And we have many families and friends of kids with cancer who will travel to Washington, D.C. each year. This year, it's going to be on March 26th and 27th to participate in Childhood Cancer Action Days. But many
there'll
people...
be a lot of shaved heads that day.
There probably will.
Right after St. Patrick's
but
Day.
But these are childhood cancer organizations from all over the country who come, and representatives from hospitals, doctors, etc. And they help educate members of Congress as to why this issue is important, where the opportunities lie, and how we can make a bigger impact with Congress's help. And what most people do, because they're not always able to get to Washington, D.C., is they will advocate using our Speak Up tool, which is also on our website under the Get Involved tab on the nav bar. And they sign up to be a member of the Speak Up Network, so that when there is information and issues before Congress that are relevant to kids with cancer, they can get the background and the rationale for that initiative, if you will, from us, and then contact the member of Congress. They can do it very easily right there through our website.
Okay.
And
is it like a canned statement, like, hey, I support this and I want...
Yes, and we give them suggested text and so forth, but they can personalize it if they want to spend a minute doing that, and then send the messages to their senators and congresspersons. So it's a very easy way to, again, make a big impact, because, the STAR Act, for example, just resulted in another $30 million a year for childhood cancer research for the next 5 years. But that's more than we're able to commit to research every year. So just by sending emails, you can almost double the impact of the St. Baldrick's Foundation. Yeah. So it's really a powerful tool. And we're so proud of that program and grateful to all the people who've helped make it successful.
One of the impacts that I think might not get talked about enough, and maybe you could help shed a little light on it. I've got a couple kids. My 12-year-old daughter is very initiative minded. Publicly she wants to, whether it's someone homeless or she always wants to give back. And I feel like through a lot of these St. Baldrick events, it's young people that are really leading the charge here, not necessarily old folks like me, but preteens, teenagers, and it's really setting them up when they hit society as an adult. They're going to have momentum. They're going to hit the ground running. So are you able to speak to kind of what you've seen from your level on young people leading these events, and maybe it could inspire some team members who might also have some preteens or teenagers that could really grab the bull by the horns and also do events like this?
You've said it so well. For us at the St. Baldrick's Foundation, I always say, obviously the research impact we've made has been, achievement number one. And because we've been able to, through these efforts, save so many kids' lives. But I'm really profoundly proud of all the young people who are learning at very early ages that they can be a leader, that they can be a philanthropist, that they have power and a voice. We have hundreds of events that take place at schools all over the country. Yeah. So from elementary schools up through high schools, at colleges as well. And we have lots of, scouting troops and, soccer teams and stuff that go to other community events, not necessarily at their school, but shave and are very much want to be a part of it. And I know so many people now. I have the great privilege every year of writing letters of recommendation for college for so many young people who I've watched since their elementary school years grow up with St. Baldrick's. And it's so incredible because on a personal human level, I feel like it's an added benefit that St. Baldrick's can offer the world, because we're helping to teach and form young people's character in a way to think not only about themselves, but to think about the needs of society and what they can do to help meet them. And, look, there's great things to social media these days, but sometimes it makes people think they're a little bit the center of the universe and they're the only one that matters. And this is a great way to teach young people to be mindful of what they have and how they can help others, and to be grateful for what they have. And it has been so incredible. I'll tell you one story that just was... it's a delight for me, because there was a young boy who participated in our events in Hong Kong. Wow. And he, his family moved back to the U.S., to Orange County here in California. And he was looking on the website one day right before school started, like a week before his new, the beginning of the school year. And he said, "Mom, there's no St. Baldrick's event in Orange County." This is going back a few years now, so this isn't currently, but his mom said, "Oh, well, we'll find one in the LA area for you to go to." He says, "No, Mom, I'm going to start one." And she thought, "Oh, yeah. So first day of school comes, and Nikki says something that morning, going out the door to his mom about how he's going to, start an event. And she's like, "Oh, wow, he's still thinking about it," a week later. So he goes to school that day, comes home, and when they're asking him, "How was your first day at your new school?" all he wanted to talk about is he got a St. Baldrick's event established. Wow. And he got the principal to agree to shave. They already agreed. First day of school, brand new school. Pitched it to his teacher. His teacher and the principal were going to shave. He had a date, and he had the school auditorium all lined up. And his mom's like, "Okay, I guess we're doing this." And he grew up with that. He became an Eagle Scout, in part because of his leadership in St. Baldrick's. Yeah. And that story has been not exactly in the same way, but that story is replicated in places all over this country. And you better believe he went through his neighborhood, and he talked at community groups. He got up at church and spoke at church. And this is a young person being an example. And I think for us as adults, we want to support a young person who's doing something good. So it just kind of reinforces, and you get on board. And so I think the young people of today, our kids, are probably our most effective leaders.
Yeah, I see that at a local level as well. In the town where I live, it seems to be preteen and teenager driven. We've got great VEOs, I think you call them.
Yes.
Volunteer event organizers. But it seems like the kiddos are the ones really carrying the baton. So you, and I'm going to wrap up here in a minute, but I want to find out a little bit about you and why you're passionate about this, and where obviously you didn't just pick up the paper and see that their CEO wanted for St. Baldrick's Foundation. Something led you here. There was a path. Can you kind of give me a little bit of your background and how you wound up here?
Sure. Well, I had spent my whole career in the philanthropic world, and in fundraising roles. And I mentioned
because you're
earlier,
so good at it, or because was there ever anything that you just wanted to connect with, that there was something that was driving you?
My whole life I was very cause motivated. Okay. I got involved in various things, helping people in like junior high school. And I started volunteering in hospitals in my freshman year of high school. Okay. And so I got a lot of exposure to sick kids. But earlier than that, I'd wanted to be a doctor, a pediatrician, or an obstetrician. And, high school science kind of taught me you need to find a new way to help people, because this isn't it. And so it was just kind of a natural for me in my university environment. I went to Loyola Marymount University, and it was very much service oriented, and I had a lot of opportunities there to be exposed to things. And just found my path and went into the nonprofit sector out of college. But I never really felt like I truly found my place until one day I got a call from a search consultant, a headhunter, who said, I've got a job for you, and it's in childhood cancer research. And I said, tell them I'll take the job.
Wait, you don't know what we're offering you yet.
Right,
it doesn't matter.
They're like, you have to interview. And I'm like, tell them I'll take the job, because I had, it dovetailed obviously with my love for children and my desire to see them healthy and strong. But in the interim years, I had had a lot of friends and family members who had fought cancer, and many of them didn't make it. And sadly, since that time, that list has only grown exponentially. And so, long story short, I got the job, and I went to the organization to do one thing, and I was on the job an hour, and my boss said to me, hey, you're Irish, and you used to do events earlier in your career, and maybe you'd like this thing. And so I said, well, I've got a lot of ideas. I think this is sensational, and I think there's a lot, and I'll help whoever you've got to do it. He goes, no, I think you're going to do it. And so it was an hour on the job. I kind of had that bait and switch experience, and it has been the biggest blessing of my life that I did. And so there are times that life throws you a curveball, and I think that the thing I would share with your audience is embrace it, because it can be a wild, exciting ride and so rewarding. And a couple years later, that organization was going through some changes, and St. Baldrick's had proven so viable that the three founders of St. Baldrick's, the three volunteer leaders, decided to start their own foundation. So it makes sense for me to come over, and I was the executive director. I started it out of my house.
Wow.
And the accounting department was in my dining room, and the events department was in my home office, and my bedroom was another department, and I was very lucky that I was able to bring a few people over from the other organization to who got it and knew what we needed, so we could have shorthand discussions. And it was amazing to see the volunteers really rally and pick up roles that were not customary in nonprofits. In my career, I mentioned that I had done special events early in my career, but most nonprofits, the staff of an organization plan an event, and volunteers get a job the day of. Like if it's at a gala, they work the auction for you, or at a golf tournament, they're manning a contest hole or something. But it's staff who really do all that work. At the St. Baldrick's Foundation, we turn it around because volunteers truly are planning these events for their community, and it's their achievement. Our staff, we equip them with the tools and the resources they need and some ideas, but then they make it their own. They adapt it to their community, and it's truly their accomplishment. And I think that's why we've had such longevity, because people know that the kids with cancer are counting on them truly. Yeah. It's not going to happen if they don't do it. And you
couldn't possibly go out to all the events with your, I'll say this because I've toured we're in Southern California. This is not your house and dining room anymore. Right. So we're on the fourth floor of a building here. But you operate much like a franchise system, I can say that, where you're lean and mean. You don't have millions of people floating around doing jobs that anybody. So you're using your budget very well. You have different people doing probably more than one task. If you're like a franchisor that I might know, wearing many hats, and yet very responsible with what's coming in. So I can definitely vouch for the fact that just in the time I've been here, I've just seen they're answering phones, they're running around, the chickens with their heads cut off, they're getting work done, and with smiles too. And that leads me to my next question: is how I can't imagine, I can't put myself in the shoes of you or your staff, that death is a reality, especially in your line of work. And you get close to families, you get close to children, and not all of them make it, unfortunately. That's why you're so passionate about what you do. So how do you guys cope with the constant balance between, there are really high highs, but then there's really low lows? How do you get through that as a team?
Well, I would say there are a lot of ways. I think the people who come to work here are very naturally empathetic people. Yeah. And they care so deeply, and so we do have to kind of rally with each other.
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you that laughter and tears are in abundance here.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to cry. There, in a lot of places and cultures that organizations that I've worked in, that would be like a sign of weakness or something. Here we recognize it as a sign of caring.
Yeah. And
it kind of inspires us to redouble our efforts and make sure we're being as effective as we can. And I think the trick is to let yourself feel the emotion you're feeling. And we take a lot of walks around the building. We're right connected to a shopping mall over here, shopping center, and we often see people going for a long walk because they've had bad news, they gotta get it out.
Maybe a little retail therapy too,
yeah,
where they just go buy a couple
that's
things.
True. There's a lot of baking here at St.
Okay.
Baldrick's, and we are all, I think, foodies, and so there's always someone's always bringing in some kind of tempting comfort food, and so I think there's a little of that, but I think humor, we try and focus when we experience loss, and sometimes they come in waves, like it feels like you're getting sucker punched hourly, but we try and double back. We read some of the blogs, and we read some of the kids' stories on our website, and reminds us of the accomplishments we have made and the progress that's been made, and what we need to keep doing. There was an event I was at years ago, and I met this little boy named Jeremy who was 6, and he was sitting right off the stage on a stool, and he had a mask on, and he had just gotten out of the clinic, and every time a shavy would start losing his or her hair, he would let out these big belly laughs, Chad. And I'm like, does he think they look funny? What is it? So I started talking to him, and he said, it's not funny, it's exciting. It means I'm going to get to grow up.
Oh, wow.
And that, I think about him still. And I've lost touch with Jeremy, and every day I think about Jeremy, and I think, where is he now? Is he with us? How is he doing? And it just keeps me going. He will be alive forever to me.
Yeah.
And for all of us, we all have kids like Jeremy who touch us in a moment, and we never forget. And they give us, we know how much we need to keep going.
So one of the things that I did notice as I toured this area is every cubicle, every office has not just one box of Kleenex. There's a couple, and you can see under people's desks, the ones that the backups that are ready. So if Kleenex is listening to this and can kind of be one of the national partners as well, just by donating Kleenexes, tissues, that would be amazing. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I do want to get one question. We started off this podcast talking about the national partnership with Sport Clips and what the last 3 years have meant. And we've recently announced we're going to continue with another 3-year partnership with St. Baldrick's Foundation. So what do you envision happening over those next 3 years, and the impact that partnership can continue to make?
Well, there's so much potential. It's very exciting. So first of all, I want to say thank you to Sport Clips, because that kind of in reinvestment is so critical. It's inspiring, it's motivating, it will help us do so much more. In the research realm, I think it's going to be hugely powerful, because there are several big initiatives that we're trying to get off the ground. We have started now and created the capacity for us to do targeted research based on specific diseases. In the past, we always had an open call to researchers to say, bring us your ideas, and we wouldn't know what was coming in to us and what various projects were coming until we got the applications, and then we would decide, our scientific advisors would review them all rigorously and then decide which ones were the most meritorious of support. But now we can say, wow, if you have an interest in this particular area, wow, we can go create a program to invite applications specifically to tackle that specific problem and challenge and research. So that's new, and I think that we've started our first program with the Osteosarcoma Collaborative. Osteosarcoma is cancer in the bone that it typically attacks adolescents and teens, and it's one of the most deadly cancers of that age group. And so that is a huge, exciting initiative. And for kids who relapse with that disease, there's really no option for them right now. So we need to create more hope there. And we expect to do more of that in the next 3 years. We also see that there are huge opportunities. We just announced a partnership with the American Cancer Society where we're going to invest in correlative studies where when you create a research grant or when you are funded, you are supposed to answer a specific scientific hypothesis. But in the course of doing that, you gather all this other intel and data that suggests sometimes many other promising directions for research. But you don't have the latitude to go in those. So we're going to pick up on a lot of that now. And so we don't have to start at square one. We can start somewhere in the middle of the alphabet and take that. And then, immunotherapy is something that I touched on briefly earlier, and that is exciting because for kids, when you're harnessing the power of your own immune system, you are supercharging it to fight cancer and to detect cancer, rather than putting harmful chemicals into your body. And so the opportunity to keep playing with that and help translate it out of the blood cancers where it's now been very effective to solid tumors is an opportunity that we're looking to really push forward in the next 3 years. And then there are all these different data repositories, if you will, that exist all over the world that scientists need access to so that they can fast track their research. And we're working on some projects and trying to work with the government now, the National Cancer Institute, and other interested parties that are involved in this data collection to figure out how can we get it working together and how can we give more access to it to researchers. So those are just a few of the things that I think are going to really take off in the next few years that will enable us to make more progress more quickly.
I love it, and I love that you didn't stumble over, well, golly, I don't really know what we're going to do over the next 3 years with the support that Sport Clips is going to provide us, but you got it all figured out.
I'm editing. I've probably got another dozen things I'd like to say.
So that's amazing. I want to issue a challenge to any Sport Clips support team or team members or stylists or managers. And the challenge is this: I want you guys to come up with some creative way to contribute to St. Baldrick's this year. We've already talked about Brave the Shave and other things that you guys can do, but something in your store. And I want to give you, when I see it, I want to give you a shout out on social media. So make sure you tag me in what you're doing, and I want to see who comes up with some creative stuff that we can share and replicate and duplicate all over the country. So come up with a winning formula, and let's raise even more money, because Kathleen's going to run out of ideas at some point if we just keep giving her money, and she's going to run out of people to help because the cancer is going to get cured. So let's be a part of that. So that's the challenge I'm issuing. Can I ask you, I know I'm a little over time, but can I ask you if this is hopefully all fun type questions? You don't even know what I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
This is just how I like to end some podcasts. I have 10 random questions. There will be no follow-up, no rabbit trails from me. So these are just off-the-wall questions like this one. Number 1, which superpower would you most like to have? See?
Only one, to fly.
Fly? Okay. Is that because you have to travel a lot for work, and or in Southern California you would bypass all the traffic?
If I could just be like Superman, get there faster, that would be great.
Okay.
I could do so much more when I'm there.
Number 2, what is your personal motto?
Life is not a dress rehearsal. So
Life
make
is not a dress
each
rehearsal.
moment count.
So make each moment count. I like it. Other than where you live now, where else in the world would you most like to live?
Probably New Zealand.
New Zealand. Have you been?
Yes.
Okay.
A spectacular country.
Are you a Lord of the Rings fan? And we did the tour.
I love the movies and the books. I've not done that tour per se, but I've been to probably most of those places.
That's a great choice. Number 4, we are in Southern California. So who is a celebrity you'd most like to meet one day?
Well, if I can cheat a little bit.
Okay.
Probably the celebrity I met who it was the most thrilling for me was Jimmy Stewart.
Oh, nice.
Many years ago. What a gentleman. And he is exactly what you think he is.
Okay. It's a Wonderful Life, Jimmy
Yes.
Stewart? Number 5, which words or phrases do you most overuse? Maybe I should ask your staff this, but...
The reality is
Okay.
something I've been told
Okay.
I use too much.
We'll go back and check the transcript on this,
Yes.
and we'll see how many times you said it. What sound or noise do you love?
A baby laughing.
And what sound or noise do you hate?
Someone in pain, like moaning or in pain.
What profession, other than your own, would you have been good at or at least have wanted to try? I'm glad you didn't, but what profession other than what you're doing now?
Maybe teaching.
Okay. You have any teachers in your family? Or?
Yes, my younger brother, who I admire. He's the most so gifted and most phenomenal
Well, I
teacher.
bet if we
I've
asked him, he said he'd admire you too. Number 9, what do you consider your greatest achievement?
Well, I think getting out of the way so that lots of volunteers and staff can do good things for this foundation to help kids with cancer, not being an obstacle for them.
Great. Last question. If heaven indeed exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Mission accomplished.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
And it's a privilege to get to help you and your team accomplish that mission. And we're trying to make Baldrick a real saint. You know, I think that's the thing that we want to tell God is, where's that Saint Baldrick when we get up there? So thank you for your time today. Thank you for everything that you guys are doing. And everybody, I'm going to put some links to this podcast, to the St. Baldrick's Foundation main website, ways to donate, ways to help out with sport clips I keep saying support team, but if you're a team member and want to help out, we want you guys to get involved somehow, some way. Thanks again, Kathleen.
Thank you, Chad.